Good morning, philosophers. Welcome to another beautiful marble meeting where I encourage you to stay sober through Stoic philosophy. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Matt Roman. If you've been on here, welcome back. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the desires we have about external things that are outside of our minds and how to help stop desiring those things. So, one of the things that the Stoics recommended was to take the things that you desire that are outside your mind and break them down into smaller parts. So, for me, this is very useful for when I'm driving through a very nice neighborhood. Because when you're in areas of wealth, that is the time that we have to be most careful about caring about things that are outside of us. You see, if you have everything that you need inside of you, then you will be richer than the richest man who wants more outside of themselves. All the wealth is inside of you when you only want the things inside of you. And it's like a beggar can be happy if he has everything he needs right there, compared to the wealthiest people who want the next greatest thing, the next nicest car, or the biggest house on the block, or the nicest clothes and the nicest jewelry. And really, when you think about it, just this list of things, I'm running out of things to say that people would desire that are external to them. Those are like the most superficial things that people want. It's what all the rappers have in their Instagram accounts and all the celebrities that are trying to show themselves off. That's pretty much the stuff they show off. It's their houses, their cars, their clothing, and their jewelry. After that, there isn't that much. And if you don't want those things, then you're very secure. You're a very secure person. And you shouldn't want those things, because if you get a nice house, you're just going to want the next biggest house. And if you get a nice car, you're going to want the next biggest car. You're going to want a car collection. Some of these greedy people that have avarice, which is a good word. It means excessive greed for wealth and money. Those people end up collecting cars because they get one nice car, and what else are they going to get? You might as well get the next one. They buy a Bentley, now they want a Rolls. It's ridiculous. And if you don't want any of that stuff, then you're wealthier than all of them because you have everything you need and you have everything you desire. Having said that, when you're in areas of wealth, that is when those external things pull us the most. And even the Stoics knew that, because in the Stoic ancient times, most people back then were probably either farmers or handymen, like craftsmen, and the more wealthy people were probably merchants. But most people probably lived out in the rural areas on some poor farm somewhere. But ancient Rome and various other cities back in those days was just gleaming with beauty. You had the Colosseum and the Parthenon and the Pantheon and all these incredible buildings that were chiseled out of marble by hand. The opulence was incredible back then. And the rich people, they had some nice things, mostly clothes and jewelry. They didn't have cars back then. They might have had some nice chariots, though. maybe some nice horses, but mostly they had their nice clothing and their nice jewelry, gold jewelry and beautiful stones and gems and things like that. And so when those farmers would go into the city, they would be oohing and awing at the grandiosity of the buildings and the wealth that they were encountering. And the same thing is happening today. In fact, the wealth gap between the wealthiest people and the poorest people is greater than ever now. And when you drive through some of these communities, most of the cities have nice neighborhoods. When you drive through them, it's easy to become fooled into thinking that they live better lives. And you see this beautiful mansion with all this land and nice cars out front, and the landscaping's so beautiful, and you think to yourself, wow, it must be nice. It must be nice living like that. Don't be fooled. That kind of thinking can lead you astray, and it takes your attention away from staying sober. It's easier to drink and get drunk or go gamble or smoke some weed or some crack or whatever after going through a neighborhood like that because you feel low, as if your life is any worse than those people, which it isn't. Usually it's better to have a simple, content life than it is to live a complicated, rich one. Let's face it, rich people, they suffer with addiction just as much. A lot of kids of very wealthy families end up overdosing and dying. Addiction touches everyone. So don't be fooled. But be on guard when you're in those rich areas. Be very on guard. I know that I myself, I get distracted. It's kind of pathetic. I'll be honest with you. Here's a story that happened to me recently, and I consider myself a stoic philosopher. I'm teaching this stuff and I'm working on mastering it through my teachings to you about it. But even I have my failures with stoicism. So my car had an issue and I had to take it to get it fixed. And I had to go to the dealership. And while I'm at the dealership, I was there and I said I had to wait for this car to get fixed. And I said to myself, why don't I try one of these other cars and go for a little test drive? What's the harm? So I asked one of the younger guys at the front desk, I said, hey, can I take one of your cars for a test drive? And he said, yeah, you can do that. Which car do you want to take? And so I said, well, I want to take your Cybertruck. Let's take that one. Because what the heck? Let's take the biggest, fastest car they got. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So I took this Cybertruck, and then the Cybertruck, it drives itself. So I got in the Cybertruck and I said to the car, take me on a nice trip around some nice neighborhoods and some nice scenery and bring me back to the dealership in about 40 minutes. And the Cybertruck talks back to you and it said, no problem, I'll take you around and bring you back here in 40 minutes. So it starts driving itself around, which is fun. And it takes me into the most beautiful neighborhood. I'm not talking about like a neighborhood where you can walk over to your neighbor's house and bring him some nice pie or smell the neighbor's barbecue. I'm talking about a neighborhood where you can scream as loud as you want. Your next door neighbor's not going to hear you. These people were owning horse farms. They had pastures of land. The houses were like castles. The cars out front were like 3 times as expensive as the car that I had asked to take out. That was their more expensive car from the dealership. Like, it was peak of the peak of rich. And I'm in this really nice car, which I think is nice. Now, I'm not going to get political here. A lot of people think that Cybertrucks look like absolute dumpsters, which is, there is some truth to that. They're ugly. I think they're ugly, but when you're inside of one and the thing's driving you around and you're seeing these beautiful houses and the crazy wealth people have, it got me really low. It made me feel sad about my life because my addiction pushed me into a place where I don't have anything. My phone overheats all the time. And this video is probably not even going to work. The phone's probably going to overheat again. And I got a little condo. That's all I could afford as a family doctor. And I lost about 10 years of my money, everything I had, and family because of my addiction problems. And I thought to myself, oh man, I'm like middle aged now, into my middle age. I got nothing. When I was a kid, I thought by now I would be living like these people. And I started to feel depressed. And it was pathetic because I knew what was happening. I know stoicism, and I'm like, these things are external. These things are external. Don't let them affect you. Focus on what's inside of you. You have everything you want. And it wasn't working. But thankfully, I got myself out of that funk real quick. Thanks to stoicism and me knowing the truth, which is that those people probably have more problems and more stress and potentially more alcoholism and everything else than I have in my life. And I'm happy the way I am and with a simple life. And I love my simple life, and I'm going to miss it if things ever get complicated. And I know they will get more complicated. But right now I'm loving it. But what I'm getting at is that being around rich people and in rich areas can really mess you up, and it can have you think about external things more than you should. So here's an exercise you should do. Take anything you desire that's external to you and break it down into its simplest parts. Think about the things that it's made out of, the actual materials. What are these things made out of? Because everything boils down to some metal, plastic, rubber, and maybe some paint, some stone, maybe some wood. Everything breaks down into that. It's just how those things are put together that brings the value and productivity of something out of it. And if you think about the materials it's made out of and how those materials tend to fall apart and wear away with time, it takes the wind out of the sails of desiring things. So let's take, for example, those wealthy houses, those mansions I was looking at. The mansion's made out of some materials. It's got walls, floors, and a ceiling. And if you look at each of those things, what those things are made out of, you realize, well, the paint's going to chip, or it'll definitely get scuffed up over time in that house. So the walls are going to look bad eventually. You're going to get scratches. And the floors are going to get scratched up. They're going to wear away with time. And the windows, those need cleaning. Windows get dirty. And they need cleaning. And that's a lot of windows to be cleaning. Who's going to clean those windows? In that house, it's so big, there's all these rooms. You're probably never even going to use all those rooms. But dust collects everywhere, even in rooms that aren't used. So you're going to have to clean rooms you're never even using. The ceilings, the light bulbs are going to be going out. You got to get a ladder out. You got to replace all these light bulbs. The light bulbs are probably in nice chandeliers and things like that that are a pain in the butt to reach over and twist out. And then you look at the outside of these places. How are you going to mow a pasture? Who's mowing these things? That's a lot of money to pay some landscaper every week or 2 weeks to come over and mow your pasture. What about that horse farm they got? Who's feeding these horses? You gotta hire someone just to take care of the horses? That's a lot of responsibilities you're dealing with now. My condo's looking a heck of a lot nicer. I got an HOA that takes care of everything. Now, I'm not a big fan of paying the HOA, but that's neither here nor there. We're not getting into that. But my condo, it's nice. I got a little bit to sweep, a little bit to Swiffer, 2 tiny rooms to vacuum. I can do all my floor cleaning in like a half an hour. It's simple. It's easy. My life is nice. I'm happy. If you break things down into their individual parts, you realize that not only are these things not that worth desiring because they come with a lot of headache, but they fall apart over time. And the universe is going to take them away eventually anyway. And simplicity is easier. And it lets you focus on your sobriety better. And you can do the same exercise with people too. People change over time. We age, we gain weight, we get wrinkles, our opinions change, our attitudes change. Who you are when you're 20 is not the same who you are as when you're 30. And who you are when you're 30 isn't the same in subsequent decades either. People change over time. They're not rooted into the ground like plants. They move around. They're going to come and go in your life. And you can realize that people aren't worth the headache either. Now, this goes back to the healthy detachment stuff. You have to love the people that you are meant to be loving, like your family and your friends and even your neighbors. And I love you guys. I love you, the one person who's watching. You know who you are. You still have to love people, but you can't become too attached to them. I'm back at the light where the beggars are. This is on my way to work, and the anything helps signs. They really have to get a little more original with their signs. Homeless anything helps is like that's so 2020. That is so 2020. They need to get with the times. Sometimes I wonder what I would put on my signs. Anyway, I'm getting weird with my commentating. You probably saw the beggar walking around my car. They like walking around my car for some reason, more than the others. I don't know. It's like they know that I'm talking about addiction right now, and some higher power is telling them to get closer to me, and hopefully I'll rub off on them a little bit. I wish I could help everybody, but unfortunately, you sort of have to be ready to be helped. And I know this because when I was in rehab, I refused to let anyone help me. People were looking at me and they were like, you have a problem, a serious problem. And I kept telling them, from cannabis? You must be kidding me. And all the signs were there. My family hated me. I stopped talking to my family. I had lost all my money. I had lost my license. I had lost a job. I had been arrested. This is all stuff related to cannabis. You would think that that would be related to heavier drugs. Adderall didn't help my situation either. I also had a problem with that. But all the signs were there, and I refused to admit that I needed help or that I had a problem. Part of the Marble program, I think part of the beauty of this program is that Stoicism is useful for everybody. And I hope that with time, I may even move a little away from the addiction side of things and focus more on how Stoicism can help people in other aspects of life. And that way, we pull in more people who refuse to admit they have a problem or don't realize they have a problem, or maybe they don't even have that big of a problem with whatever it is they use. But through the Stoicism and my explanations about how it's better to be sober, it'll inspire people to live sober lives. Because that's sort of what I'm trying to teach here. Yes, addiction is the worst thing, and we need to help as many people with addiction as possible. But I'm also encouraging people to just live sober lives and see addictive substances as a negative and to remove those things from their lives, even if they don't have problems with those things. Why drink coffee if it's addicting? I'm talking to you right now. It's 7 in the morning and I'm totally awake without any coffee. How is this possible? Yes, I have been like you. There have been times in my life, long durations of my life, where I need a coffee in the morning to get me going. But if you don't drink coffee, you don't need a coffee anymore to get you going. And every day is just the possibilities and the potentials are so great. I have the possibility to create a good video with you today and to encourage you to have a great day and to encourage you to have beautiful, positive, productive days. And hopefully to get people sober and save lives in the long run. Why would I want to be tired and groggy when I have the possibility of doing that? I encourage you to find things that you can do to help other people so that when you wake up in the morning, you think, sweet, I get to do something useful that I enjoy doing that can help people. And if that's running a business and you're producing value in the world and that business makes you money, then awesome. That should be enough. You don't need caffeine to keep you going and to get you up. Caffeine is addictive. So it's better to not be on it altogether. And people in the sobriety, addiction, recovery community, they hate hearing that because they love caffeine. Since they can't use their drugs of choice anymore, they want to use caffeine instead. And so they like to drink 180 milligrams of caffeine or 800 milligrams of caffeine, according to one influencer I saw recently. But a true sober person doesn't want anything addicting because they know that it's all a spectrum. And if they're using coffee all the time, then they're just lower on the spectrum. But the true perfection of stoic sobriety is being someone who's off the spectrum altogether. I wish you all a great day. I love you all. And boy, oh boy, I hope this video worked. Peace out.